The Realme X2 is the company's answer to Xiaomi's Redmi Note 8 Pro, which is one of the most powerful current-gen smartphones that you can buy for less than 20,000 rupees. So if you're one of the many people always looking out for a good smartphone in this budget, you will be wondering whether the Realme X2 is the best offering right now. Let's have a look. But before we begin this video, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and hit that bell icon so you know when we post a new video. Now let's get started. The Realme X2 has a 6.4-inch Full HD Plus Super AMOLED panel with an in-display fingerprint sensor. The display also uses Gorilla Glass 5 for scratch protection. The large display is great for watching videos thanks to its punchy colors, good viewing angles and more than satisfactory brightness. It only has a single speaker, but there's Dolby Atmos enhancement that's on by default, and this helps boost the mid-range and lower frequencies. The in-display fingerprint sensor was quick at authentication and face recognition works very well too, and you can use it even in very dimly lit environments. The screen is still relatively large, so using this phone comfortably with one hand can be challenging at times. Button placement is good and the speaker, USB Type-C port and headphone socket are all placed at the bottom. The X2 supports expandable storage and has a dedicated slot for a microSD card in addition to the slots for 2 nano SIMs. The Realme X2 ships with ColorOS 6.1 just like the X2 Pro with the October 2019 security patch. The software features are very similar to what we recently saw in the Realme X2 Pro. You also get lots of pre-installed apps and only the third-party ones can be uninstalled. The star of the Realme X2 is its processor. This is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 730G SoC. The Realme X2 has been launched in 3 variants in India, one with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage, one with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, and finally 8GB of RAM and 128GB of inbuilt storage. We had the top-end 8GB RAM model of the Realme X2 with us, and as expected, Android ran pretty smoothly. There's no notification LED, but you can enable a rudimentary always-on display mode which shows you basic information such as the time and alerts from certain apps such as messages or missed calls. I didn't face any heating issue in our usage. The Realme X2 also delivered solid performance in games. I played PUBG Mobile, Asphalt 9 Legends and Arena of Valor, all graphically intensive titles, and they ran very well without causing any excessive heating to the X2. Gameplay was smooth even with the graphics setting in Asphalt 9 Legends and PUBG Mobile cranked all the way up. The 4000 mAh battery was able to give full day of usage of Realme X2. In our HD video battery test, the phone ran for 13 hours and 11 minutes. The bundled VOOC Flash Charge 4.0 was able to charge Realme X2 up to 95% in an hour. The Realme X2 uses a 32-megapixel front-facing camera which uses an f2.0 aperture. For normal selfies, the camera shoots images at the native resolution, but in portrait mode, the images are pixel binned down to 8 megapixels. Using the front camera under good light, I found image quality to be quite impressive. Details were solid, colors were accurate, and exposure was generally well balanced. Even when shooting against the light, I found the HDR to work very well, exposing our face and the background equally well. Selfies in low light looked quite average though. There was visible noise in photos and details weren't great. The Realme X2 lets you use Nightscape for the selfie camera, which improved the exposure a bit even in dimly lit areas. However, this still needs more work, as at times I ended up with some heavy pixel distortion in the final shots. The screen flash was bright and very effective in lighting up our face even in very dark scenarios. The Realme X2 can shoot 1080p selfie videos and under good light, details were good and colors looked natural. Videos are stabilized, but the electronic stabilization caused some mild distortion when I moved about, and there's no way to turn this off. There's a new bokeh mode for selfie videos which actually worked pretty well even when I had two faces in the frame. It even shows you the background blur effect in real time as you are recording. Let's talk about the rear cameras now. We have a primary 64 megapixel sensor with an f1.8 aperture, an 8 megapixel wide angle camera, a 2 megapixel depth camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera. In daylight, I found the image quality to be very good. Objects had sharp, well-defined edges, details were good and HDR worked well. The sides of each frame had a mild sprinkling of noise, but this was only noticeable once I zoomed in all the way. I had some intermittent autofocus issues, especially with close-up objects, but this wasn't persistent. Close-ups also looked good with good color saturation and a pleasing natural depth effect. The dedicated depth camera managed to detect edges very well and our subject's face had good sharpness and detail. The macro camera is useful but details weren't always the best. Plus you'll need ample light to get good shots. The wide angle camera was useful too and barrel distortion wasn't too noticeable if at all. Details and colors were good but not on the same level as what the primary camera captured. In low light, the sensor isn't of much use as details were very weak and exposure was poor even with nightscape. I found the video quality to be best at 1080p 30 fps when using the primary camera. Electronic stabilization worked well and didn't cause any shimmer when walking about in daylight. The X2 can shoot at 4K too but without any stabilization. The ultra steady mode showed us extremely smooth video in the viewfinder, but the recorded video still had some noticeable jerkiness. In low light, there was noticeable grain in dark areas and some noticeable distortion due to the electronic stabilization when I moved around. So the Realme X2 builds on the success of the Realme XT and is yet another superb all-rounder priced below 20,000 rupees. It just makes sense to pick this over the Realme XT or even the Realme X at the moment. Though the X2 is still using a dewdrop notch. So if it is style you are after, then the Realme X with its notchless screen and pop-up front camera is still the better bet. Low light video quality could be refined a bit and FM radio is missing, which was available with the Realme XT. Other than this, it offers a good display, strong battery life with fast charging, a capable set of cameras and very good gaming performance. And even if you aren't a gamer, the Realme X2 is currently the best Realme smartphone you should consider under 20,000 rupees. And that was our review of the Realme X2. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it and share your thoughts on the Realme X2 in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.